Hi, I'm Serena, and this is my co-host, Mike, and you're listening to Diapers and Deployments, Who's Got It Worse? The podcast that talks about all things military, the good, the bad, and the oh shit.
On today's episode, we talk about valuable moments with your kids, Carol Baskin, and fruity cocktails. We also talk to Nick Howland, the CEO of the Firewatch.
This podcast is supported by SkillMil Corporation, helping veterans transition to the civilian workspace.
Well, Serena, a lot of people don't know, but we're what you call winners these days.
I mean, I call myself a winner all the time.
Well, that's true. Well, we won the 2021 Veteran Podcast of the Year. What do you think about that?
I think that's freaking awesome. I'm so excited because I haven't won anything for my big ass mouth ever.
Oh, man, I didn't think about that. So really, listening to you talk is that's what does it right there. That's why we won. So it's not only me and your husband that have to listen. Now the whole world has to listen.
Yeah. And how many people did they say voted?
Over 10,000.
Oh my gosh. I mean, I'm very humbled that all these people that listen voted and said, we like her mouth the most. I want to vote for her.
Well, the folks over at Broken Jarhead and Travis Johnson for putting on the first ever Veteran Podcast Award. It was great. And we're just, like you said, I'm glad we won. I'm humbled that we won. Mm-hmm. And really, Serena, we deserved it.
Yeah. I mean, listen, we have to give thanks to the fans that listen, like the regulars, and then also all these guests that have come on and talked to us. That's really cool.
We've had a lot of great guests. And I don't know, people know what FOMO is, right? Fear of missing out. So if you haven't listened yet, you're missing out.
Right.
Thank you. Well, Serena, I see that you have on a Tiger King shirt. So your week had to be pretty good just based on the shirt alone.
I mean, my brother got me this sweatshirt. It's awesome. I'm not going to say what it says.
Well, yeah.
Nobody can see it, but it's about Carol and it's got a tiger on it.
Of course it's about Carol.
But it's cold. It's cold in Kansas now. I keep thinking, oh my gosh, why is it so cold? But then I also can't believe that it's November.
Oh my gosh.
What the heck?
I'm going to give you one damn guess why gas prices are so high.
Dude.
Carol Baskins. I had to go back to the shirt. I couldn't pass.
It's all her fault.
Well, you chose to live in Kansas, so there'll be no bitching. You're
right. I chose to live here. We moved here when it was freezing cold, like -20 in February. Mm. And now that we're getting, it was like 30 this morning when I woke up. Mm. I don't know what it is now. I mean, it says it's 47.
Oh, a heat wave.
Yeah, it's a heat wave right now. I won't turn my heat on still.
What? What's wrong with you?
I'm cheap. I have Brandon's got a fire going. I'm not like my pipes aren't going to freeze, but I don't have it set to like no comfy 74 or anything like that. I have it set at 62 right now.
Oh, mine is always on. Our electric bill runs between, I don't know, $200 a month average for all year. So electricity is cheap here in Alabama.
I mean, that's my average. Like I pay like an average.
Well, no wonder you don't turn it on.
Well, but they're comparing me to the homeowners before. Because they said you can go on a level paying plan, but since you haven't been a resident for a month, we have to compare you to the last guy. You
got kids, so you should probably just go ahead and double up.
That's why I'm not turning the heat on, because I got kids.
Yeah, you got lots of laundry to do.
Yeah, and all their fucking devices and their computers and Xboxes and all that crap.
What would we do without Wi-Fi, Serena? What would we do?
Not record this podcast.
Oh, that's true. But I like recording the podcast, especially since we're the 2021 Veteran Podcast of the Year. I mean, we just got to throw that out there every now and then.
Heck yeah. I mean, do we get like a little stamp, a little watermark we can put on our screen?
Oh, you know what? We should do that. I know we're getting a big Thor hammer sent to us.
So do we each get one or just you get one?
No. I think we each get one.
Heck yeah.
Yeah, that'd be awesome. But
I got a little spot back here.
We can put it in our background.
Yeah.
Well, we always ask about our week and our listeners. We haven't recorded in a while. We don't want to go too long. That's directed toward you, Serena. But I was going to ask you how your week was, or 2 weeks, really.
Yeah, it's good. It's we're remodeling, like I always say. So it's taking a long time because I know we both work full time. So we can only do it like for an hour at night. And then on the weekend, I work on Saturdays. So Brandon's alone. So, I mean, but it's chill.
Let me just go ahead and let you know when he's alone, he's not doing anything, Serena.
I know. And that's kind of been the problem. I think that's why it's taken 8 weeks to just remodel a laundry room.
We need our man time.
And I get it. I need my time. I get one day off during the week, but I have to like catch up on laundry and do all the grocery shopping and all that crap. So it's not like I'm just like laying around watching reality TV, which I want to do.
I know,
but I can't.
I tell my wife the same thing, Serena. The house isn't going to clean itself.
I have a cleaning lady. I can't. She was here today.
Mine moved.
Oh, no.
Yes. Remember the first or second episode we talked about my hot cleaning lady?
Yeah.
Well, she ain't here no more. So I'm on the hunt.
Oh, man, that sucks. My cleaning lady is the wife I never had. I mean,
she's awesome. Mine was awesome, but she moved. So
you got to get yourself a new one.
I'm getting an ugly one this time. So if you're out there,
our cleaning lady's been cleaning house for my mom since I was in grade school. And she's been like dying for me to move home so she could start cleaning. So, I mean, I've known her my whole life.
She's like family.
She is like family. I mean, talk about trusting her, I'm like,
oh yeah,
do whatever you need to do.
I did just buy something that I didn't even think about talking about on the show, but I just bought one of those iRobots. So I had an older version and I was like, okay, this thing sucks. It wasn't good. But now I got one where it's on a $30 a month. And if anything goes wrong, they send you a new one.
Oh, hell yeah.
It's on a schedule. It mapped my house and I set which room I wanted to vacuum when. It is amazing.
I don't have one personally, but I've heard great things. What if like one of your pets though has an accident on the floor?
It's supposed to have some sensors for that. I don't know.
Because my cat lately has been loving to throw up only on the carpet.
Oh yeah. I don't really know. If that happens, I'm going to go out to lunch or dinner or something and call Regina and be like, hey, Regina, how you doing? You didn't see this before you left. I'm like, see what?
I always thought that my husband did that kind of shit. And now you just verified that it's true.
It's true, Serena. We're men. That's what we do.
Well, how was your week? What have you been doing the past couple of weeks?
So I will tell you, the last couple of years have been amazing because I've been able to drive my daughter to school and pick her up. Since I retired, I got to spend a lot of time with my youngest, Skylar. Well, she turned 16. So she drives herself to school. She drives herself home. She's driving herself to work. So I freed up a lot of time. That time that I had with her was amazing. I wouldn't change it for the world. So that, when we talk about the military and a lot of our listeners are military and you're out there thinking about whether to retire or not, if you do spend that long in the military, this, and you have some benefits and you have your pension, you can make a few more family choices near the end. Right. So that was good. I just stayed home. So now I'm going to have to get a real job or something, Serena.
They're not all they're cracked up to be. Let me tell you, Brandon was saying just recently, he's like, gosh, I feel like we switched spots. Like, you're working all day, working on Saturdays. I'm taking the kids to all their sports and their birthday parties and all that. And I'm like, yeah. I mean, he's like, I thought when I retired, I'd get to see you more. And now he's like, I feel like I see you less now. And I'm like, yeah, that does kind of suck how that changed.
Well, me and my wife, we did the same thing. She works, she's kind of tied to her phone because she works for the Small Business Administration. And with everything's been crazy for the past couple of years, right?
Sure. Yeah. So, I know. I mean,
but
I don't know. I mean, I get Brandon actually was able to take the kids to school every day with his new job as a civilian. And they recently, they had to change their work schedule to come in earlier because they had some more work to do. So he isn't able to take them to school. And he said that that's like the worst part of all of it. He's like, I can get up at any time and go to work. I've done that for 20 years. Right. But it's not being able to drive the kids to school. And
it's the little things.
Yeah. He said, and actually this morning he had the day off today and I didn't wake him up. I just let him sleep in because I always get the kids up and get them ready for school. And then he would take them. But this morning I didn't wake him up. And he's like, why didn't you get me up? I like taking him to school. And I was like, you wanted to sleep. I mean, I would want to sleep. I don't want to get up to an alarm.
Well, I am nervous about her driving. I do miss driving her to school, but those drives to school, there's a lot of alone time and talking and just wisdom, right? That you can do a lot of listening. So for the listeners out there, if you have a chance to do that, I highly recommend it. But when you're in it, it's just like anything else in life. Like Serena, you're like, oh my God, I have to get up and take the kids to school and I got to take them to work. I got to do all this stuff. Then you look back, you're like, that's the best part of life right there. So anyway,
a lot of times I keep the radio off too and talk to my kids.
I do too. Well,
see what's going on.
Well, if they turn their music on, mine's 15. I have to turn it off sometimes because it drives me crazy.
Thankfully I get a break. I obviously listen to country music all day long in the Western store. So when we get in the car, we listen to their crap, which I'm thankful for. But sometimes I just turn it off and we just chit chat. Yeah. I mean, because I got a teenager almost now. So there's like drama and stuff. I want to hear about it.
Oh my God. Well, you know what they say? They say girls, when it comes to girls, they're harder to raise because of drama, but boys are harder to raise because you have to keep them alive.
Yeah. I mean, he's getting the brunt of bitchy girls. And a mama bear comes out. Like, I'm like, whose mom do I have to fight? I'm just kidding. I'm not fighting either.
That Tiger King shirt's got you all riled up.
But I'm like, she said what to you? Then I'm like, this is a lesson for my son, who's the teenager, and then my daughter. I'm like, you don't act like that to people. Just you don't have to be rude and say ugly things to people. No. And then I tell my son, I'm like, dude, girls are bitches.
Oh my God.
And I'm like, I'm sorry. I am so sorry.
I will tell you, it's hard for you women to keep a friend, but that's probably a whole nother podcast.
You're my friend.
Because I'm not another woman.
Oh, yes. Your wife's my friend.
Because you never see each other. Put you two in a room together for 2 weeks, you'd be like, oh, that bitch. Let me tell you what she did.
Oh, my God. Oh, I was going to ask you, is she driving your Bronco?
So I bought her a Kia Forte.
Oh, okay.
So, yeah, I made the same deal with her as I made with my oldest. I'll buy you a new car, and it has to last you through college. I mean, it's got a 100,000-mile warranty. So, yeah. And my Bronco is off limits for a little bit. She wants to drive it to school, but she needs a little practice by herself first.
Yeah.
Yeah. And my insurance right now, it's high, but if she got in an accident, it would be, I'd have to get one of those real jobs we talked about earlier.
Yeah. I'm not looking forward to that. I'll tell you what.
Well, my oldest got off of my insurance last month and now she's back on it. So here we go.
I think Keegan and Elena are the same years apart as Skylar.
7 years?
No, not 7. They're almost 5.
Well, I kept my oldest on my insurance. I told her I'd pay it all the way through college, as long as she went to college. Yeah. If she would have quit college, I wouldn't pay for anything.
Yeah. I mean, hey, my boyfriend joined the Navy and my parents were like, you got to go to college or else. And then the second I graduated, they were like,
ding. Oh, I know. But you know what? That's why you are who you are. You know what? Right. If my parents would have kept giving me money and if I would have kept expecting things from them, I would not be where I am today.
You're right.
So thank them for being assholes to me.
Absolutely.
And Serena, thank you for being an asshole to your children as well.
Hey, we're not supposed to be their friends, right?
No, we're not.
Yeah. So, Mike, what's up with telehealth and SkillMil? What's going on?
Well, it's launched. See, Serena's not part of telehealth. She's my brains behind the podcast operation. No, we're doing well. I was on Jay Johnson's Expert-ish podcast last week. We talked for an hour about telehealth. Yeah. I'm not going to do that here. I'll just say if you're listening and you're a veteran or you're a veteran-owned business and you want to provide telehealth to your employees, SkillMil now offers telehealth for veterans. And, we really got telehealth at a great rate because of the population we serve. So I personally have great insurance. I've said that before. I never thought I needed telehealth, and I really don't need it. I want it because I don't want to go to the doctor anymore. I don't want to get off my couch or, take my kid out of school. I don't want the inconvenience. I want to be able to pick up the phone. I want to be able to talk to a doctor with no copays and for them to say, hey, go to the pharmacy and pick up this medicine for your kid or for yourself and have a nice day and I can go back to bed. Really, Serena, I want it because I'm lazy.
So you heard it here, folks. If you are a small business, a veteran-owned business, get in contact with SkillMil so you can get started with telehealth.
Yeah, or if you're just a veteran and you're lazy like me. All right, Serena. So today we have Nick Howland on the show. Welcome to the show, Nick.
Thank you. Appreciate being here.
Well, I met Nick actually through retired General Mike Fleming from the Cohen Clinic. He was on our show. Serena, it's been a while ago, right?
Yeah, it was like way back in March.
Back when we weren't that good. Yeah. But anyway, he talked about the Firewatch, and I'm like, I got to get Nick on. And It's been 6 months, but Nick, you made it.
It's about time.
I know.
Not that there was a pandemic that got in the way or a rise in cases. Yeah.
No. Hey, before we get into stuff, I did meet Nick in Jacksonville about a month and a half ago, and some of the statistics you keep on veteran suicide, and we'll get into that, are amazing. The stuff that you're doing at the Firewatch, simply amazing. But go ahead and tell us about yourself and then tell us about the program.
Yeah. Thanks, Mike. I appreciate it. And Serena, thanks for having me on the show. My name is Nick Howland. I'm the CEO of the Firewatch. The Firewatch is Northeast Florida's fight to end veteran suicide. We're actually an organization that was set up specifically for the purpose of fighting the epidemic of veteran suicide. And Mike, you mentioned data. Those of us in the veteran suicide prevention industry, so to speak, hate to use that phrase about it, but those trying to combat the epidemic. Yep. Data's always plagued us. VA keeps data, but it's 2 years in arrears. It doesn't go below the state level. So if you're trying to solve it from a community approach, like we're trying to do at the Firewatch, the data that has been out there has been no good, but we've gathered better data. The Firewatch, again, is Northeast Florida's fight to end veteran suicide. We represent 5 counties in Northeast Florida, all those ones kind of tucked up in the upper right part of the state, close to Georgia, Baker, Clay, Duval, Nassau, and St. John's. We were able to strike a deal with the Florida Department of Health where we get the metadata that they have, that shows on death certificates that they're a veteran and that they died by suicide. And it's non-identifiable to us, but we can actually track by age, gender, race, and era where those suicides occurred from 2010 to 2019 by county and within county by census tract. It's actually pretty neat. Why is it neat? In a morbid way, it's neat, but it's neat because it allows us to be able to focus our outreach programming on those areas where veterans have historically been most at risk. So it's really, we're creating a ground up, locally led approach to end veteran suicide.
Well, they always say that all politics are local, all healthcare is local. And surely, when you fight things like veteran homelessness and veteran suicide, there are big federal programs, but it's a local battle. And, the more data you have, the more you can fight veteran suicide, the more you can fight anything. And I was just amazed at, what you showed me there in Jacksonville. You guys do a lot of research and really try to get that ground roots level knowledge of what's going on in your community, and it's working. So tell us about some of the, success stories.
Well, the fact that we know where our highest, risk veterans are helps us to kind of inform our programming. Our cornerstone program is something that we call the Watchstander program. And that's clinically, you would refer to that as an early intervention gatekeeper program, kind of like CPR or Heimlich maneuver or Safe Talk. What we're doing is we're engaging community members to learn the warning signs of veterans in crisis, to learn how to ask them if they need help, and to learn how to direct them to the resources that they need. So it's a 30 to 40 minute training portal that we offer on our website, or we can do it in person. Just like CPR, we're trying to get as many members of the community to learn those warning signs and to know how to take action as we possibly can. We're up to 1,300 members now, and we're only a little over a year old. Our goal is 10,000 within the next 5 years. Why? Because we think that number is material to be able to help veterans in our community. And in Northeast Florida, there are 150,000 of them. So if a veteran starts showing the warning signs of crisis, a neighbor, a church member, a colleague, a friend knows what to do and how to take action. The closest parallel really is CPR. I mentioned that before, but it's basically in the 1900s, we knew that heart distress was the leading cause of death of men over age 55, right? And we knew the warning signs. Your left side hurts, you start sweating, you're overweight,
you're married,
what have you. Yeah, and it wasn't. The solutions throughout the first half of the 20th century were more cardiologists, grow the heart wing, put emergency equipment in ambulances, et cetera. It wasn't until the 1970s when they launched CPR, which is an early intervention gatekeeper program, by training community members to recognize the signs early and to know to get help, that they actually started having a marked downward effect on heart attacks. And that's what we're trying to do with our Watchstander program for veteran suicides.
And you're mostly a volunteer organization, right?
100% volunteer. I mean, I'm the only kind of full-time staff. We're about to bring on another one. We have a board of 5. Our chair is someone you've had on your podcast before, General Mike Fleming of the Stephen A. Cohen Military Family Clinic at Centerstone. Big mouthful. But
initials
Mike
for that? No, go ahead.
Yeah, I'll say it again. The Stephen A. Cohen
acronym?
Military Family Clinic at Centerstone. We'll call it the Cohen Clinic for sure.
Yeah, there you go.
Mike is the outreach director, and he's also the chair of the Firewatch. And Mike is just a remarkable veteran advocate in Northeast Florida.
He is, man. I've met him quite a few times at different events, and he cares about the veteran community.
Yeah. And it's his brainchild, and a gentleman named Rory Diamond, who's the CEO of Canines for Warriors, his brainchild. Dan Bean, another veteran advocate, and a handful of local veteran advocate politicians in Northeast Florida that said, let's get this done, and created this ground up approach. We've subsequently spun off as a 501c3, and that way we can launch our programming statewide, which we plan to do this fall. Really, you can basically just say, imagine if you had the data to know where people are most likely to choke, and then you trained people in Heimlich and pre-position them in those places where people are most likely to choke. That's what we're doing. We're identifying where people are most likely to slip into crisis, and we're training people in those areas to be able to recognize when someone is slipping into crisis.
Is there a number of people call in? I mean, you have the training aspect. I know there's the Veteran Crisis Hotline. Do you guys have volunteers on phones and outreach centers? How does it work?
We do not. Really, our program is all about finding out where the hotspots are and focusing outreach efforts and driving our community-led program to those places. When people go through our 30 to 45-minute free training, they basically learn, if they identify a veteran in crisis, to send them to the Veteran Crisis Line. If they identify a veteran who just needs help, and that's an ideal state because we're getting to a veteran before they slip into crisis, we direct them to 211 or our Veterans Resources Guide at thefirewatch.org. So we don't have a call center per se. We're just training people to get out there and be able to direct veterans to those places. So again, to the Veteran Crisis Line call center or to 211 or our Resources Guide.
Nick, when I was in Jacksonville, there was a lady, and I don't know what organization she was with. She had gotten a phone call. I think there was a veteran who needed medical assistance. He didn't want it. She came to you. Next thing I know, you made a phone call, and then you had 2 volunteers on their way out, or some organization, to talk to the veteran in person to see if you could get him or her help. How is that part of this Firewatch, or what organization was that? It just intrigued me how fast you guys worked together and got someone out there to the veteran.
Yeah, that's a great question, Mike. On that particular instance, you and I were together at an event, Jacksonville Military Veteran Coalition event, which meets quarterly. And I had gotten a call earlier, just prior to that event, from a watchstander, someone who's gone through our training, knows to recognize, crisis signs and to direct veterans to the help they need. And it was a real particular case because this watchstander had come across this veteran who was homeless, living in his car. He was an Air Force veteran, mid-50s, Gulf War, had pretty much reached his wit's end, and he didn't want to be helped. So our watchstander was trying to connect him to a local shelter to get him, a roof over his head, had called 211 to try to, see if they could find any emergency assistance with him. The veteran refused it all. And we reached a point where we wanted to do a welfare check with the police on him. He recoiled at that. And he said basically that he had a bad experience with police in his past, that his own family had Baker acted him in the past, and he would kill himself if they tried to Baker act him. So we were really reaching a point where he did not want to be helped. This was a situation we didn't know how to deal with. So when you came across that, Mike, there was a couple of us huddling up trying to figure out what to do. Well, Wounded Warrior Project stepped in this case, and they said, we've got a team to handle these kind of situations. Basically, we engaged that team. You might remember General Mike Linnington is the CEO of Wounded Warrior Project. They're also located in Jacksonville, their headquarters. So he was at the event. He hooked me up with his special situations team. And we put a plan in place. Since that veteran didn't want help, we had a team approach him, kind of work through the scenarios again, try to get him to be reasonable because there's plenty of transitional housing options for veterans in our region. And in the end, he refused it all. So we actually directed him as a last resort. Someone doesn't want to be Baker acted if he's in danger of hurting himself, to Department of Families and Family Services. And they did an adult welfare check on him. And at that point, they can do make the decision, if he can take care of himself or if he needs to, be taken into protective services from an adult standpoint. It was a very difficult situation. In our 2 years in the Firewatch, encountering hundreds of situations, we've never seen one where everything in our decision tree came up empty and we had to reach that final solution. But we kept him safe. What I understand is the Adult Protective Services is taking care of him. And that's what's important to us because no veteran left behind.
I love that story because it took, a village at that point to get him the help he needed. And as it turned out, that village all happened to be in one room that day.
Yeah. We huddled up and talked about it, and resources were contributed at that point too. I mean, Wounded Warrior said, the veteran had a specific case where he was living in his car and his car didn't work, right? So Wounded Warrior said, we'll take care of his car, get it fixed up, so he can get anywhere he wants. And then we realized he didn't have a license. So
now that sounds like a typical Navy story right there.
So then the special situations team said, we'll take him and get him a license. So it was, all sorts of things that we were trying to figure out as we went. But, it just goes to show that veterans helping veterans, we're not going to quit. We're not going to turn our back on one or leave them behind. It's just not going to happen. And that's the joy of having a prepositioned group of thousands of folks out there who are vigilant to the concerns of veterans and willing to do what it takes to help.
I know you're located in Florida. Will there be a way that you guys will be nationwide? Is that the goal someday?
A passive listener would think that I just wired you money to ask that question. We started 2 years ago, actually not even, November 2019 in Northeast Florida. We didn't even really put together our business plan or our program plan until January, February. And we launched it right about COVID time in March of 2020. And nothing has slowed us down because we realized we could launch our training programs online. And while people were sitting at home, we directed them to our programming and got a lot of watchstanders that way. Since earlier this year when things opened up, we started doing a lot of in-person events and our numbers have driven up from that. What that means is that our program has merit and there's a lot of folks interested. We've talked to folks from the Department of Veteran Affairs in the states of Maryland and Arizona. We converse every day with Florida's Department of Veteran Affairs, and they have an organization called the Governor's Challenge, which is focused on trying to develop a statewide veteran suicide prevention initiative. Well, they have recently asked if I could figure out how to fund and launch our Watchstander program on a state level. So outside of the 5 counties. And we have done that. And we're expecting a launch by the end of September, certainly by Veterans Day, which would be our 2-year birthday. And we want to deliver this Watchstander program statewide.
In the state of Alabama, we call her Grandma Ivy, but Governor Ivy launched an initiative. Basically, she wants to, for veterans, job opportunities, lower veteran suicide. So that program needs to move on over here to Alabama, my friend.
Well, I'd love for it to. It's all about funding. Right now, the 5 counties that have funded this program and a handful of sources in the last 2 years and 1 or 2 new sources were apportioning money to devote to launching statewide. So, and it's going to go in a phased way based on the funding that we have. So really, like I said before, it's just me. I'm the only full-time, employee. And I manage a lot of vendors. Our training vendor that put the portals together, which is an organization called PsychArmor, fantastic organization. They're the country's leading military and veteran culture online training nonprofit. They're out of San Diego, and they built our training portal for us. And other vendors like a marketing vendor and a IT that does our web and app, and a data analytics vendor, which has struck the data deal with Florida Department of Health and provides it for us. You can actually see our data by county in the 5 counties in Northeast Florida at our website at thefirewatch.org. You click on data and you can actually see the data. It's pretty neat. So we're taking that whole concept. We're expanding it statewide because the Florida Department of Veteran Affairs Governor's Challenge team said the way that we're going to combat veteran suicide is ground up. We like what they've done in Northeast Florida, and we want to do it across the entire state. So we'll be launching the Watchstander program and focusing the launch initially on some of the hotspots that we see across the entire state of Florida.
So when people go to your website to become a Watchstander, is there just that one initial training, or are there more trainings?
Yes. The initial training is 30 to 45 minutes. We have 2 paths, either a civilian path or a veteran path. If you're a civilian, there's an extra 15-minute video in there. That's a military veteran culture video called 15 Things Every Veteran Wants You to Know. And then it gets into our training program, which trains you to recognize the signs and ask a veteran if they need help and, expedite getting the veteran help. But once you've signed up to be a Watchstander, you get into the portal, your own private Watchstander portal that's brought to us by PsychArmor. And that gives you free access to all of PsychArmor's back-end training. PsychArmor, again, has over 100 short training videos on military culture, suicidal ideation, identification, leadership, management, all sorts of military and veteran culture training courses. And so you're able to take whatever you want. You only have to take our little 30 to 45-minute course to become a watchstander. And we then ask you to take a pledge and you get a little certificate. But from that point on, you can take whatever training you want. And every so often we'll send to all the watchstanders, hey, great new training on psych armor. Remember, you can get in your portal and take this training. Like you can learn about the Columbia scale that, determines, likelihood of suicide and all that kind of morbid, kind of training. But there's a lot of neat opportunities on there. One of these days, as we develop the program, we're going to try to get to a point where we have levels of watchstanders. So perhaps a squad leader level and then a team leader level. And we'll have you take additional training to attain those levels.
You actually read my mind because my guess is you do the initial training to become a watchstander. You get a few phone calls under your belt. You get the experience. Most veterans I know will be back on there getting as much training as they can so they can help the next person that calls on that line. Yeah,
that's exactly it. Right now, we would have to develop the functionality to track the courses that you've taken. And that doesn't exist right now, but you can take whatever you want. But once we do kind of get the funding to take that to the next level, we would do that. Right now, for us, the object is to get as many people trained on that, basic training as we possibly can. But we do see that as a next step in the program.
All right. So we know about Firewatch. So wait a minute. Didn't you serve this great nation as well in other ways?
I did. I'm a Navy guy and I live in a Navy town. Jacksonville's a Navy town, though my chair, Mike Fleming, would yell at me for saying that. So hopefully he doesn't listen to this podcast because, he started out as a Marine. And then he actually transitioned into Army. So, yeah, interesting. But I was a naval officer. I was commissioned 95. I served 4 years, got out in 99. I did 2 years on a destroyer, USS Chandler, and then 2 years at a Navy SEAL special boat unit where I was a officer in charge of a couple riverine boats.
Oh, that actually sounds like fun.
Yeah,
it was a blast. And, it was a blast in particular because we were in those years between wars. And so we're training all the time. I'm not a combat veteran because in those years from 95 to 99, there's some things like in Bosnia, but my deployments were all training deployments, except for on the ship when we did a few 3-month deployments to do counter narcotics down off the coast of South America. But when I was at the special boat unit, we specialized in training foreign navies on riverine interdiction. And,
addiction. Hold on. What were you doing down there?
Riverine interdiction.
Oh, okay, good.
Yeah, drug interdiction and insertion and extraction of special operators and that kind of thing. And so I was actually my boat unit that I was in charge of, or my boats that I was in charge of. We were going over to Senegal, be part of the African Crisis Response Initiative, which was a training exercise that was done every year. And then the bombings happened in Africa that were the first Al Qaeda bombings, where really Al Qaeda got on our country's radar, if you remember that. So that was in 98. And so they canceled that deployment. So I ended up just doing a lot of deployments up and down or training exercises up and down the Pearl River in border of Louisiana and Mississippi, which is a really interesting training environment that they still use today because it simulates a whole bunch of different flora and fauna, like Southeast Asia, South America, West Africa, et cetera.
It's just as dangerous down there in some places.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah. Third world. Don't quote me.
Well, hey, listen, I appreciate your service. And I tell people the only way an officer gets on our show is if they help our enlisted. So you're helping our enlisted. So welcome to the show.
There you go.
Well, I don't want to take up your whole night. I appreciate you coming on. I know Serena appreciates it. Mm-hmm. We say it every time. We learn something new. Every guest that comes on. And for us, all the great veteran programs out there, it's hard to believe how many people we have helping veterans. And still, we have things like veteran homelessness and veteran suicide. Every person making a difference. Thank you for everything you guys are doing over there at the Firewatch.
Well, thanks for bringing it to everybody's attention. Thanks for having us on the podcast. And Mike and Serena, I enjoyed it. So I appreciate you having me.
Thanks for being here.
Thank you. All right, Serena, the Firewatch. What do you think?
I'm glad we finally got him on the show after talking to Mr. Fleming and got to hear what the Firewatch is about. I think it's a good tool for your toolbox to be able to identify if someone is having some troubles there, suicidal, maybe it's something a training we all should have, not just for veterans, but just people in general. You know what I mean?
I do. I think, we have a lot of suicidal ideation training in the military, and we look for signs. We're kind of trained to do that. We know what our buddies go through. But a lot of these volunteers, some are veterans, but a lot are not. So it's good that they have a training program and the data. I keep going back to that because with the right data, you can really make a difference. And they have really done a good job on figuring out where these people, at-risk people are, and going into the community and helping at that level. And that's what it's going to take. It's not going to be some big, grand federal program. It's going to take people like the Firewatch in the community making a difference each and every day.
Yeah. I'm interested in the training because fortunately, I don't know anybody on a personal level who's committed suicide. However, the people that I know that have had somebody, they always say it came out of nowhere. But I'm wondering if we were trained in a situation like that, maybe it wouldn't seem out of nowhere. Do you know what I mean?
Well, I will tell you personally, in the past year, I've called people twice, Facebook posts that they said if I hadn't called them, that would have been it.
Really?
Really, personally.
Wow.
And a lot of times it's just about being there for somebody. I mean, it's, as simple as picking up the phone. So you never know when it's going to happen, Serena. You could be reading a post or talking to someone on the phone, and you don't have to have the training to call somebody, but man, if you do have that too, and you know where to tell them to go, that can make a huge difference. It can make the ultimate difference.
I mean, I had a little bit of training as ombudsman. However, it wasn't to identify it. It was, and when I was ombudsman for a different command, not the command you and I were together, but people who had the idea would call us,
right,
saying, I need help. But sometimes it was too far gone for people at that, after that.
Well, it's just good to know that people are out there. And hey, if you're listening and you're having any thoughts, I mean, you just have to know people are out there. People care. There's a program for you. There's help. There's resources. I mean, so pick up that phone, make that phone call, call the Veteran Crisis Hotline, call your friend, call your buddy, call 211. Do whatever you need to do. But thank you for listening. And I hope everyone out there learned something. And hey, go to the Firewatch, take the training, and maybe you'll help save somebody's life one day. Serena, we always do a drink of the week. And after the interview earlier, we talked about some serious stuff. But you know what? We're going to keep it lighthearted at the end, like we should. There's a lot of people who are listening right now who want to be cheered up and want to be happy. And they look forward to figuring out what kind of fruity, weird stuff you're drinking. So what did you drink these last couple of weeks that I wouldn't touch? That's what I want to know.
You're going to laugh.
Oh, I usually do.
I guess it's just a spiked cider.
A what?
So like apple cider with caramel flavored vodka. That's hot. Hot cider with caramel flavored vodka and caramel sauce and whipped cream and a little cinnamon stick.
Jesus Christ, that's got 2,000 calories.
I know.
So did you get drunk or just get a sugar high?
Well, you put it in like a coffee mug. So you're not drinking like a gallon of it or else you'll get diabetes and that would be awful. But I've just been drinking that. It's like a hot toddy, if you will.
It sounds like it tastes like potpourri smells and I'm out.
That's fair.
Yeah. Well, I tried some horrible beer.
What'd you have?
When you go to the store and you buy those variety packs, a beer, and the reason they do this, I think, is because they have beer that no one else will buy. So hey, put 3 of those in a variety pack. We'll get rid of that shit. I
agree with you 100%.
Yeah. But I'm one of those guys that are like, oh, I'll just try it. But it's like Hop Valley. It's like called Bubble Stash, which, I like IPAs. I'm like, sounds good. It's not. It wasn't. So
what do you do? Give it to eat it into baked bread or something?
I don't know what I'll do with those two. I mean, I'll save them for a while for company. And then if no one drinks them after 2 months, I just throw them away. I mean, because beer, I don't keep beer past a couple months. It goes bad.
Skunky
beer. Although if I have some people over I don't like, I could always save it for longer.
Well, that's usually when we're trying to clean out the barn, like in all the coolers, because everybody brings beer, when we have parties in the barn. But then like sometimes if there's just a bunch of crap that people have brought that nobody likes, then we're like, let's have a party and tell everybody they don't need to bring anything. And then everyone's just forced to drink it.
And you know what? They always leave the shitty beer, but you'll have that one guy who comes with a 6-pack of good beer. He drinks like 5 of them. And on the way out, it's like, hey, I'm going to grab this beer and take it home with me.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's an Air Force guy, Serena. That's what that is.
Thanks for listening to this episode of Diapers and Deployments, brought to you by SkillMil.
Go to skillmil.com to check out our blog and create an account. You can also find us on social media. Let us help you find your next career.
Don't forget, that's skill with 2 L's and mil with 1.
Until next time.